before he became Pope. When John Paul II was Pope, he was in charge of Catholic law. Okay? Moving on. He was given his mouth to speak great words and blasphemy, and he was given power to continue 42 months. We already saw that 42 months equals 1,260 years. Why years? Because it's a day for a year, according to Ezekiel chapter 4:6 and Numbers 14:32. Therefore, that 42 months, or times, and the dividing of times, 1,260 prophetic days, those were literal years. Now, how do we know when to begin? We have to look at when did the power of the Vatican begin. According to Myers' General History, under him, the Pope, was verily made good. The papal claim that all earthly sovereigns, all what? Earthly sovereigns were merely vassals of the Roman pontiff. Almost all the kings and princesses of Europe swore fealty to him as their overlord. Rome was once more the mistress of the world, page 455. The legally recognized supremacy of the Pope began in 538. This is even repeated in the history of the Christian Church. In the History of the Christian Church, volume 3, page 327, says Vigilius, the name of the cardinal, of the bishop, the Archbishop of Rome, ascended to the papal chair in the year 538 under the military protection of Belisarius. Okay? Now, you count from 538 into the future, you get the year 1798. This is what you as Adventists say. No. In 1689, an English prophetic interpreter named Drew Kressner, using the year-day principle, wrote, "The time of the beast," Protestant term for the papacy, "does end about the year what? 1800. About the year 1800. So therefore, there was clear-cut understanding of the day for the year principle. As a matter of fact, the Jews had it, meaning that the papal reign would end in the year 1798. He would receive a wound, but it wouldn't be complete. It wouldn't kill him. It would just mortally wound him. Did it happen? Yes, according to the American Encyclopedia, 1941 edition. Read that for me. In
1798, he, Berthier, made his entrance into Rome, abolished the papal government, and established a secular one.
Even the Catholic Church says the same thing in their book, Church History. The murder of a Frenchman in Rome in 1798 gave French an excuse for occupying the eternal city, that is the Vatican, and putting an end to papal what? Temporal power. Not its spiritual, but temporal power. The aged pontiff himself was carried off into exile and balance, and there he died. Pius VI, although 81 years old and ill, was seized and taken as a prisoner to France, where he died in August 29, 1799. On this day, the total destruction of the Holy See seemed to many to be accomplished, according to what? New Catholic Encyclopedia. After stripping Pius VI of his temporal power, the French deprived him of, his liberty. His death while a prisoner marked a low papal in papal fortunes not plumbed for centuries, and gave rise to a prophecy that the apostolic succession had come to a close with the demise of Pius the Last. New Catholic Encyclopedia. Did it happen? Yes, it did. Is this an invention by Seventh-day Adventists? No, it's not. How do you know? History. History. And it happened on time. Because God knows when things begin and when they end. God knows. His deadly wound would be healed. Was it healed? Yes, it was. According to St. Francis, the San Francisco Chronicle, February 11th, 1929, with the concordant that Mussolini made with the Vatican. Read for me, please. The
Roman question tonight was a thing of the past, and the Vatican was at peace with Italy. In affixing the autographs to the memorable document healing the wound, extreme cordiality was displayed on both sides.
Healing the what? How is it possible that in 1929 they understood Bible prophecy, and today in 2018, with all of the modern advances that we have in technology and all of the different ways we have of studying the Bible, we don't? As I said yesterday, I make cake from a box. Remember that? And still there are people who can't make cake. Moving on. Here is wisdom. Let's understand what 666 means. In Daniel chapter 3 and Revelation 13, the number 6 is used as a symbol of man. Under the control of the worship of the golden image by the people in ancient Babylon is referred to 6 times. And by God's design in the book of Revelation, the warning against worshiping the beast and his image is also given 6 times. Revelation 7, for God, that 7 represents completeness, wholeness, or perfection. 6 means lacking, missing. You're missing something. The papal title is Vicarius Filii Dei. It is not an invention by the Seventh-day Adventist Church. It is their official title. Problem is, you don't read Vatican writing. When you calculate the number Vicarius Filii Dei, you come up with the number 666. Now, I know people try to do this in English. It doesn't work. Why? Because in English, you have a numerical system apart from the alphabetical system. The Hebrews thought, some individuals in Hebrews, and Madonna especially, Jesus help me, people are listening to Madonna. I forgot what is that religion that she follows, but it's the same idea that in Hebrew there is a number system. Words and numbers are the same thing. No. In the Hebrew system, they have a numeric system that is apart from their alphabet. It's not the same. There's only one language in the world that had a numerical system, which was also their alphabet: Latin. That's it. No other one. Vicarius Filii Dei came up to 666. Now, you also have to understand what the word anti means. The Latin equivalent of Greek for anti is vicarious, from which comes vicar. Thus, vicar of Christ literally means antichrist. But you're thinking against Christ. That's not antichrist. That's numerology. Antichrist means in the place of Christ, not against Christ, because nobody wants to go against Christ and be worshipped. And then, you got to be a nut. So Antichrist means in the place of Christ. And even the Jews understood this, excuse me. So the official, according to our Sunday Visitor, the official title of the papacy is Vicarius Filii Dei, or Vicar of the Son of God. And people for years were hammering me because I became an Adventist. And I have friends who were, of the other faith. But I thank God for Pope John II. Pastor, why did you say that? Because he wrote a book. And you see, Catholics are up front. They have no shame. They don't hide. If you don't understand what they're saying, that's on you. That's on you. Okay? But we know what we're saying when we're talking. I'm not Catholic. I'm not practicing Catholic, Roman Catholic anymore. But I understand what they're saying because I used to teach it. And John Paul II wrote the following. Read it.
Confronted with the Pope, one must make a choice. The leader of the Catholic Church is defined by the faith as the vicar of Jesus Christ and is accepted as such by believers.
As the what? As the what?
Vicar of Jesus Christ.
Vicarious. The Pope
is considered the man on earth who represents the Son of God, who takes the place of the second person of the omnipotent God of the Trinity.
In case you didn't understand what vicar was, because only the Latin man is the intelligent man, and I'm not trying to say that I understand Latin, I don't, okay? But only the Latin man understands, is the intelligent man. Then he explains it just a little bit more. The Pope is considered the man on earth who what?
Represents the Son of God.
Who takes
place of the second person of the omnipotent God of the Trinity.
They have no bones about it. Now, the Bible says there will come a time when you will receive the mark on the heads and on the forehead. and that no one may be able to buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Now, to understand that, you mark of the beast, you must first understand God's seal. God's seal. Whose seal? God's seal. Please understand that you would have to look at Deuteronomy chapter 6. Which book? What chapter?
6.
You would have to understand that because God was speaking to a Jew. He wasn't speaking to a Christian, he was speaking to a Jew. And he understood when he read in Revelation chapter 7 that the seal of the living God that would be put on their foreheads, on their what? Foreheads, is the same seal that God speaks about in Deuteronomy chapter 6, the Shema. Hear, O Israel, our God is one. And you shall love him with all your heart, mind, and soul. And these words that I say shall be put as frontlets between thine what? Can you touch the frontlet between your eyes? Can you touch it between your eyes? Would you please? What is that called? Your forehead. So God was saying that. Therefore, when John is writing out this prophecy in Revelation chapter 7, in Revelation chapter 13, he understands that it's about obedience. That mark is a mark of obedience. Who do you obey? As a man thinketh, so what? As a man think, so he does. So you are sealed. Romans chapter 4, verse 11 mentioned that circumcision was a sign. Isaiah 8:16 talks about his law being a seal. Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 12 says that the Sabbath is a what? A sign. Revelation, therefore, when you're looking at the seal of God, it is his only stamp that shows why he is worthy to be obeyed. Because he is God, creator. He made everything. So he is the only one who's worthy to be worshiped. His day and the day that he has given on the face of this earth is the Sabbath. And I understand that there are some people who believe that the lunar system is the system by which we should do or take all of our days. God did not institute the lunar system by which we should interpret our days. God gave us the solar system by which we should interpret our days. Days of morning and night, or evening to evening, as the earth rotates around its axis around the earth. That is our system, and that system will prevail for all eternity, because from one new moon to another new moon, and from one to another, we shall worship before God. Our system of days was supposed to be done by the sun. The festivals were controlled by the moon. Jesus' death on the cross removed that. 6 days you shall worship. Again, Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 12, we are to hallow the Sabbath, because then we know that I am the Lord what? God. Therefore, the Sabbath is the sign of God's allegiance. The beast, Sunday, would be the mark of the beast allegiance. Jesus said, I will put my laws in their mind and write them on their hearts. And I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Even the Jews understood this in Wells of Salvation. He will plan to change the seasons and the religion, wrote in Brimaville. Again, I showed you about the tefillin and how the Jews would worship, and that it would leave an imprint on their foreheads and on their hands. This is a symbolic, a spiritual mark. How do you know this? Because we studied Ezekiel chapter 9. Yes or no? Yes. And please remember, when Cain refused to repent, what did God put on his forehead? That is the mark of the beast. Because when you refuse to accept God and follow God, you have ceased to be a human. Now you are a beast. Do you understand? And please note, the beast still nonetheless obey God. Just interesting. Moving on. Satan has attacked the Sabbath because it's the seal of God. So what power on the earth believes that it has the power to change time's laws? Again, the Roman Catholic Church. The church, on the other hand, after changing the day of rest from the
Jewish Sabbath,
or the
seventh day of the week,
to the
first day,
made the
third commandment for the Sunday as the Lord's day.
according to the Catholic Encyclopedia. Yes or no?
Yes.
But the problem is that the Sabbath is not the fourth, is not the third commandment. It's the
Fourth,
So what is the third commandment? Simple. They removed one of the commandments. The one about worshiping idols. They took it away. Think to change times and... Now, isn't it interesting that the Catholic Church admits to it? Why? Because they believe that the Pope has power to change times and laws. Change times and laws. And to dispense with all things, even the precepts of Christ. There is an angel, symbolically speaking, crying out, warning us not to accept the mark of the beast or receive his mark or his forehead on our hands, because we shall drink the wine of the wrath of God, which I will speak about on Saturday at 11 o'clock. But God says that in the end, there will be a small group of people, and they will keep God's commandments and the faith of Jesus. And my question to you tonight, which one of the two will you be? You have an envelope in your hand. You have an envelope in your hand. The question is simple. Will you be one of those saints who keep the commandments of God and have the faith of Jesus? That's the question for you tonight. Will you be one of those who keep the commandments of God and have the faith of Jesus? It's number one. And here's my second question to you. Is God calling you to come back? That's my question to you. That's the second question. Is God calling you to come back? To come back to this church? To come back and worship the Lord in spirit and in truth? You know whether or not you need to rededicate your life. You know whether or not you need to be baptized. You know whether or not it's time for you. That's the second call. Please write down yes. If you wrote down yes, put your name. Put your phone number. Somebody put down their name but didn't put their phone number. I had a woozy of a time trying to find that person. I wish to have a prayer with you tonight. See, I got to tell you, there's a little bit more that I have, but I think this is enough for tonight. Because more that I would give you would be really overkill. I showed you and I demonstrated to you that the Vatican claims that they have the power to do this. What does the future hold for us? Let me show you what the future holds. Future holds the following. The Vatican demonstrating that it has the power to broker peace in the world. August 12, 2016. Its deadly wound would be what? Seen as a unifying force on the face of this earth. Now I need you to read this.
Hope for the Western world lies in an alliance between the Roman Catholic Church, which is the most commonly influential, controlling, unifying element in Europe, and the Eastern Orthodox Church. Rome must unite with Eastern Orthodoxy because the Eastern Orthodox Church controls the Western Middle East, the east end of the Mediterranean. And if they don't solidify that control, Islam will march across Europe. Islam is political. The only hope of the Western world lies then in a united Europe under the control of the Pope. And then all Protestant Christians around the globe must come into submission to the Pope, so we will have a unified Christian world.
Google it. Early 2000 stated this. before around the time of 9/11. Pope has to unify with the Eastern Orthodox Church. Why am I doing this? To demonstrate to you that when God says something is going to happen, it happens. There are individuals that don't know that they are fulfilling Bible prophecy. They don't know it. They're fulfilling it. And they are saying what needs to happen in order for a one world government to happen. And we are not paying attention to it because we're too busy about what's happening with the Kardashians. Okay? And whether or not some guy kneels or some guy doesn't kneel. Okay? We're too busy with nonsense.